दक्षिणामूर्ति सारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमां रमणाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय नमो रमना टू एवरीवन।
एकमक्षरं हृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्। हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मच्युता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। देहं मृण्मय जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिये दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। नमो रमण।
Ramana. We continue the satsang with the chanting of a few verses of Upadesa Saram by Kumari Uma Shripati.
वायुरोधनात् लीयते मना जालपक्षिवद्रोदसाधनम् चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलका लयविनाशने उभयरोदने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धनात् लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तना नाशमेत्यद नष्टमानस उत्कृष्टयोगिना कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्तितिं यथा दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मना चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनं मानसं तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मनः अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वत ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभाज्यहमहं तया स्फुरतिहृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णस
Namo Ramana. In this part of the satsang, we have a few Ramananjali Sangeetam offerings. The first offering will be by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh Srinivasan. The next offering will be by Savitri Krishnan and Jayasriram Krishnan.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we have selected a song written by Sri Kavya Kanta Ganapati Muni. The music is by Srimati Sulochana Natarajan. Varaparashara Gotra Samudbhavam Vasumati Surasangayashaskaram Varaparashara Gotra Samudbhavam Vasumati Surasangayashaskaram Varaparashara Gotra Samudbhavam Vasumati Surasangayashaskaram Varaparashara Gotra Samudbhavam. Vimala Sundaram Pandita Nandanam Vimala Sundara Pandita Nandanam Vimala Sundara Pandita Nandanam Vimala Sundara Pandita Nandanam Kamalapatra Vishala Vilochanam Kamalapatra Vishala Vilochanam Kamalapatra Vishala Vilochanam Kamalapatra Vishala Vilochanam Panipasasani Panipariri Sari Gamari Sani Sani Pamagamapadani Sari Risa Sani Nipamagamari Riga Gama Varaparashara Gotra Samudbhavam. Aruna Shailagata Shamavasinam Paramahamsamanandanamachutam Aruna Shailagata Shamavasinam परमहंसमनञ्जनमच्युतं करुणया ददतं व्यवहारितां करुणया ददतं व्यवहारितां करुणया ददतं व्यवहारितां करुणया ददतं व्यवहारितां सततमात्मनि संसितमक्षरे सततमात्मनि संसितमक्षरे सततमात्मनि संसितमक्षरे सततमात्मनि संसितमक्षरे पनिपसासानि पनिपरीरि सरि गमनि सनि सनि पमगम पदनि सरि रिससनि निपमगमरि विगम वरपराशर गोत्रसमोद्भवं वसुमती सुरसंज्ञयशस्करं वरपराशर गोत्रसमोद्भवम् नमो रमण।
ಯಾರು ವಿಶ್ವವಹೀಗೆ ಹೂಡಿದವನೋ ಅದರ ಚಲನೆಗೆ ರಾಗ ಹಾಡಿದವನು ಯಾರು ವಿಶ್ವವಹೀಗೆ ಹೂಡಿದವನು ಅದರ ಚಲನೆಗೆ ರಾಗ ಹಾಡಿದವನು ಯಾರು ವಿಶ್ವವಹೀಗೆ ಹೂಡಿದವನು ಅನ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಣವನು ಇರಿಸಿದವನು ಪ್ರಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವ ಅರಿಸಿದವನು ಅನ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಣವನು ಇರಿಸಿದವನು ಪ್ರಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವ ಅರಿಸಿದವನು ಕಣ್ಣಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಟವನು ಭಾವದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಟವನು ಭೂಮಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವೈಭವವ ಮೆರೆಸಿದವನು ಭಯಪಡುವ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಇರಲಿ ಅವನ ಕೃಪೆಯು ನಭವ ನಿರ್ಮಲಗೈದ ರಮಣನೊಲವು ಯಾರು ವಿಶ್ವವಹೀಗೆ ಹೂಡಿದವನು ಹೂವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಮಳವ ಮೊಳೆಸಿದವನು ಕನಸಿನಲು ಅರಿವನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸಿದವನು ಹೂವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಮಳವ ಮೊಳೆಸಿದವನು ಕನಸಿನಲು ಅರಿವನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸಿದವನು ನೀಲ ಕಮಲವ ಜರಿವ ನಯನದ ಶಶಿಯಡೆಗೆ ತನ್ನ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ನೋಟ ಹರಿಸಿದವನು ಶಂಕಿಸುವ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಇರಲಿ ಅವನ ಕೃಪೆಯು ಆ ಮನದೂರಿಸಿದ ದೇವನೊಲವು ಯಾರು ವಿಶ್ವವಹೀಗೆ ಹೂಡಿದವನು ಹಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಣ್ಣನ್ನು ತಾಳಿದವನು ಕೊರಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಷವನ್ನು ಕೂಡಿದವನು ಹಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಣ್ಣನ್ನು ತಾಳಿದವನು ಕೊರಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಷವನ್ನು ಕೂಡಿದವನು ಚಿತ್ತದೊಳು ಶಕ್ತಿಯನು ಮಿಲನದೊಳು ಮುಕ್ತಿಯನು ಹಾಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಆಸೆಯನು ಬಿತ್ತಿದವನು ಕರಗುವ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಇರಲಿ ಅವನ ಕೃಪೆಯು. ಜಟೆ ಹೊತ್ತ ದೇವನ ದಿವ್ಯ ದಯೆಯು ಯಾರು ವಿಶ್ವವ ಹೀಗೆ ಹೂಡಿದವನು. ಅದರ ಚಲನೆಗೆ ರಾಗ ಹಾಡಿದವನು ಯಾರು ವಿಶ್ವವ ಹೀಗೆ ಹೂಡಿದವನು. ನಮೋ ರಮಣಾಯ ನಮೋ ರಮಣಾಯ ನಮೋ ರಮಣಾಯ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣಾಯ ನಮೋ ರಮಣಾಯ ನಮೋ ರಮಣಾಯ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ದೇವ ದೇವ ಮಹೇಶ ಪರಾತ್ಪರ ದೀನ ಬಂಧು ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. தைரியம் கொள்ளும் சாதக கன்று கையில் கனியே நமோ நமோ. தொல்லருணாச்சல ஜோதி ஸ்வரூப வல்லப ரமணா நமோ நமோ. தோன்றி புவிலே சுடரதி ஊட்டும் போன்ற பொருளே நமோ நமோ. நமனையடித்தே யமயுனதாக்கும் ரமணா ரமணா நமோ நமோ. நாராயணாய நம ஓம் சிவாய நம ரமணாய நமோ நமோ. நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ நமோ. நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ நமோ. ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாய.
Namo Ramana. We move on to the next part of the satsang, where we have a reading and a sharing session by Sri Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our satsang, we have been reading from Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, The Resplendent Sun, Angles of Vision by our founder president, Shri A.R. Natarajanji. Mostly, this is a compilation of articles from the magazine called Divine, and also contributions by our founder president and by Shardaka also. Today we are reading the article from Swami Brahmananda. It must be the Swami from Jyotirmath who visited Bhagavan in 1942. There is an account in letters from Sri Ramanachandra of this visit also. He is writing on Bhagavan. Most of these articles are contributed by such great people of those times. The unique approach to the self, Swami Brahmananda. There is a Mangala Shloka from Ganapati Muni taken from Chatvarimshat. My prostrations to Sri Ramana, the best of the teachers, the remover of sorrows, who, even while perceiving the world, stays apart from the world by having dispelled the darkness of ignorance, both inside and outside, ever abiding in the supreme, ever existing consciousness, and who destroys the ignorance of those who surrender to him. Ganapati Muni. The article proper. Questions questioned. In the galaxy of spiritual masters, saints, and teachers of the world, Sri Ramana holds a unique position. His approach is distinct in that he does not solve the question. He dissolves the question. Nay, he dismisses and dissolves the very questioner. His method is simple to the prepared. all that he asks is, to whom does the question arise? Thus, he shifts the mind from its extroverted tendencies in one shot, so to say, makes it introverted, and the prepared mind is made to delve into the truth which is beyond all questions and answers, all negations and assertions. But why does Sri Ramana not answer the question? For him, the standpoint from which all questions arise is invalid. The standpoint of the questioner, the thinker, that standpoint itself is invalid. So all the questions are invalid. For him, the standpoint from which all questions arise is invalid. It is based on the acceptance of the false to be real. Then, where is the question of finding a real answer to an imaginary problem? The only truth is, I am. And the existence of anything apart from it can never be proved. This unique nature of Sri Ramana's enquiry, the Arjava Marga, the direct path, we shall try to present in a form understandable even to a beginner, throwing special light on the uniqueness of his approach in the form of a dialogue between a spiritual master, Mahatma, and a seeker inquiring into the reality. So the author is going to present Bhagavan's teachings in the form of a dialogue. A dialogue, seeker. My mind wants to be peaceful, and that peace is missing when I am away from Ramanashram. Maharishi, whose mind is lacking peace? Mine. Maharishi, inquire, to whom the mind belongs? Devotee, to me. But how can that rid me of my agitation and miseries? Bhagavan, the body by nature is inert. It has no complaints, for how can mere matter ever know, experience and complain? The pure self, the truth, is by nature free of all changes, and for it there can be no sorrow. But between the two, there arises this entity called the ego, which derives support from both. It assumes the shape of the body, saying that I am fat, I am lean, etc. And from the self, it borrows the existence and sentience. So, neither the body nor the self has any sorrow, but the one who arises in between, call it ego, ahankara or granthi, it alone has the problem. Devotee, that is true. But the problem does not go just by finding out for whom the problem is. Bhagavan, the point is that you are in essence not the ego which suffers, nor the inert body, but the truth. The ego is the thought, I am the body, I am the mind, and hence what happens to the body is taken on the I. To use the philosophical term, it is superimposed on the I, and I seemingly suffers. That is the end of that dialogue, whereby the author tries to share Bhagavan's teachings from a very simple perspective. The next subheading is pay attention to I am. Pay attention to I am. Not only is the suffering I, not you, but on enquiry, the suffering I, or call it the ego I, disappears. For an illusion cannot stand enquiry. The I-ness does not really belong to the ego. You must not forget that the I-ness of the ego is only borrowed. The I-ness belongs to the truth which you really are. Devotee, Now I understand the impact of your question. Enquire to whom the sorrow belongs. It means that the sorrow belongs to the ego I. And when I inquire who is this I, the very ego I is known to be false, and then the devotee leaves it hanging, Bhagavan. Then one recognizes oneself to be the truth. Swayam prakashate atma megha paye amshavani. Just as the clouds, when they vanish, the sun is seen to be self-luminous. Similarly, when this ignorance of ego vanishes, the Atma shines by itself. Devotee. And why is it that I don't see this truth? Bhagavan. Because your attention is not directed towards it. Devotee. I don't understand. What do you mean that I must direct my attention towards it? Bhagavan. Is it not a fact that I am is ever there? Is it not true? And the experience of all of us that behind every diverse thought, word and deed, the I am is a constant common factor. Instead of paying attention to the I am, our attention is to be turned towards the thought, word and deed. Extrovertedness is the cause of the problem. Introvertedness is the solution. Dwell on the I am. Inquire into the source of the I. Ask yourself where from it comes. When the mind stays in the I am, you enter into a state which cannot be verbalized, but which can be experienced. That is ever experienced as the continuous silence. Focus exclusively on essentials. Sri Ramana Maharishi's uniqueness is that he stays with the essentials. All questions which only add to more confusion are rejected at the very outset. No attention is given to them. The only essential truth is I am. And how can that which depends on something else for its very existence be real when its very existence is questionable? All questions. Is the world sentient or inert? What is the basis of the world? Sorrow or pleasure? Is it real or false? All these and many more, which are connected with the unreal fleeting experiences of the world and our perception, are all lock, stock and barrel, thrown and burnt in the fire of right enquiry. I will relate the incident that happens when the Swamiji comes to Bhagavan in 42. He has written a letter to the ashram regarding the Aviccha Yoga between the Shiva and Shakti, and the ashram authorities, since he was to come to the ashram, did not reply so that he could ask from Bhagavan and find out directly. I'll try and read that article from the letters to Ramanashram, because the very article he has written is about the same thing. The focus on the I am. I will read only the relevant portion where the clarification is given by Bhagavan, because the entire article of the Brahmanand Saraswati Ji is on the turning inward towards the I am and letting go of the ego. I will read the relevant portion. It seems that before he came here, he had written regarding his doubts as to the sentence in the Agama Shastra, beginning with Hara Gauri Samyoge Avachaya Yoga. The ashram authorities did not reply to him, giving Bhagavan's views, as they felt that the matter could be explained when the Acharya came here. Hence, when the next day the Acharya asked Bhagavan about it, Bhagavan replied saying, so please pay attention here. This is the summary of that entire article. What is there? Bhagavan is saying, It is a well-known thing. Avachaya Yogam means when the force that is engaged in doing things, manovritti, actions of the mind, becomes pure and merges in Hara, Lord Shiva. And when the shadow of the self, the Atma, falls on that force, it is called Avachaya Yogam. The Parvati Amman, the shining Spurana, merging into the silent self. The Acharya said he did not understand it. Bhagavan thereupon spread his benign look over him for half an hour. The Acharya's eyes got closed involuntarily. After experiencing indescribable bliss, and with tears of joy, and with hands folded on his head, he said, Bhagavan, I have now understood it. And assuring us that he would come back by the time of Kumbhabhishekam, consecration ceremony, when it is performed, he left on pilgrimage to the south, accompanied by his disciples. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Dhyayet Sharada Chandra Sundaramukam Tamraravindeksham Bhaktabhishtavarabhayapradakaram Kaupinamatrojvalam Svatmanandarasanubhutivivasham Sarvanavadyangakam Shrimantam Shri Ramanishwaram Guruvaram Yogasanabhyasitam Dhyayet Shri Ramanishwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramanishwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramanishwaram Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmamatram Yahamaham Sakshat Atmarupena Bhati Hrudi Vishamanasa Swam Chimbata Machatava Pavana Chalana Rodha Atmanishto Bhavatvam. Namo Ramana. We will commence today's evening Atma Vichara by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I will be reading his Upadesham from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai, from the chapter Meditation on the Truth. The topic is the greatness of the Upanishads. Verse 509. For God, whose very nature is grace, ignorance is unknown. His lotus feet rests on the pedestal of true knowledge, and the golden sandals on his feet are the Upanishads. For the futile ego that is intoxicated with intellectual knowledge, the only worthy pursuit is to take upon its head those sandals, the Upanishads. I repeat the verse. For God, whose very nature is grace, Ignorance is unknown. His lotus feet rest on the pedestal of true knowledge, and the golden sandals on his feet are the Upanishads. For the futile ego that is intoxicated with intellectual knowledge, the only worthy pursuit is to take upon its head those sandals, the Upanishads. Bhagavan here is clarifying that the truth alone exists. God, who doesn't know any ignorance, alone is there. And his golden feet, which is sitting on the pedestal of truth, is wearing the Upanishad, which is the way to his feet. And when we don't identify ourselves with that one truth which alone is, but take our identification to be very real and feel a sense of separateness, intoxicated with the intellectual knowledge that I am this name and form, or influenced by other intellectual knowledge when people see me as this name and form. Bhagavan is saying here, the only way to get back to the truth which alone is through that Upanishad. That Upanishad for us in Bhagavan's path is the enquiry. Who am I? It is the golden sandal which Bhagavan is wearing and putting his feet on us. Whenever we move away from the truth, holding on to some intellectual knowledge, Bhagavan's Upanishad is who am I? By inquiring to whom is this movement, who am I? We can let go that transitory, illusory movement or separateness which is originated by our attention to it, and bring it back to, through the enquiry, through this sandals of Bhagavan or the Upanishads of Bhagavan, back to the truth which alone is, which is his golden feet. And how do we do it? When we inquire, whenever Bhagavan says, whenever thought rises, and as soon as we become aware of it, we should diligently question to whom is this thought. Then the answer would come, it is for me. There we see that the ignorance that we are holding on, the wrong knowledge or the intellectual knowledge that we are holding on, believing oneself to be this name and body or form, appears as I, it is for me, for this fellow. Thereupon we should diligently inquire, who am I? Holding the Upanishad which Bhagavan has given us, which he is wearing. Moment we inquire who am I and hold that feet of Bhagavan, the sandals of Bhagavan, the inquiry who am I, which Bhagavan is saying is God whose very nature is grace. The very Upanishad takes us to his feet. That the inquiry who am I, it is not the answer. The very question, the very inquiry of who am I takes us to the feet of the Lord then and there, because the Lord is full of grace. And the Upanishad which he has given, who am I, takes us and makes us rest in that one truth which alone is. The only remedy whenever we are intoxicated with this intellectual knowledge, Bhagavan is saying not to worry, his Upanishad in the form of inquiry is available for us to free us from this intellectual knowledge, and his abundant grace then and there establishes us in his feet, which alone is. And this is the direct path. This is the greatness of Upanishad, says Bhagavan here. With the immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. With His abundant grace always available, and whenever we get intoxicated with any thought, we should diligently inquire to whom is this, who am I, and hold this Upanishad to get back to His golden feet. With His abundant grace, for the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara.
Namo Ramana. Continuing the meditation on the self, we have the next session, a sharing by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jnanamulam Gurur Murti, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gururvakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. Namo Ramana. We're doing Manana on Atma Bodha. We are in the last satsang, we did Manana on the verse number 10, which said that like all pervading space, the infinite reality appears to be diverse on account of its association with various types of equipments, upadhis, and becomes one on their destructions. So you see the whole sky, you see the space, and then you think the clouds come by, and you think that it has got some upadhis, but once that it's removed, then what happens? The on these becomes one in the destruction of this. So the space is one, infinite and all pervading, but it is called differently as living room space, bedroom space, bathroom space, etc. The walls of the room are the equipments, upadhis, which seem to limit the limitless space. When the walls are pulled down, the different room spaces which had erstwhile individual existence merge with that infinite space. It's a beautiful example of this verse. Similarly, the equipments of the body, mind, and intellect are responsible for the manifested world of perceptions, emotions, and thoughts projected upon the infinite reality. Then the nice example was, consider the phenomena of refraction of light through a prism. A pencil of colorless light striking a triangular glass prism gets refracted into 7 colors. The prism splits that one colorless light into multiple colors. When the prism is removed, what happens? The original homogeneous nature of light is restored. Similarly, the material equipments cause the pluralistic phenomena. Remove the equipments, what remains is the supreme reality. The beautiful verse. I think we need to do a lot of manana on this, and that's what was spoken in the earlier satsangs also, that actually the body doesn't want anything. The pure consciousness does not want anything. But in between these two is this little fellow. It's like the phantom hand. It's that ego which comes in between and says, hey, I want this, I want that, and then tries to project itself. And sometimes associate with the body, sometimes associates with the self. So, but most of the time, because of outwardness, because of the bahirmukha, it associates more with the body and the objects outside. And it's not that it is if it sees that, but it thinks it is real. That's the problem. The problem is the objects are there. Brahman Satyam Jagat Mithya. Mithya means the world is there. It's just an appearance. It's not real. But we are saying, oh, that is real. When you see the water in the desert, you think it's real. But there's no water there. So that's very important that we need to do constant manana on. That's why they say that the person who dives into the to find the pearl, he ties a little stone to his waist. That stone is dispassion. We should also constantly have that dispassion with us at every moment of our time to be able to know what is real and what is unreal. So we will do manana on verse number 11 today, and I request Sapna to kindly chant the verse, please.
Yes, sir. Nana upadivasha deva jati namashramaadayaha atmanyaropitato ye rasavarnadi bhedavat. Nana upadivasha deva jati namashramaadayaha atmanyaropitato ye rasavarnadi bhedavat. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. So it says, only on account of the diverse equipments, caste, color, stage, etc., are superimposed upon Atman, just as different flavors, colors, etc., upon water. So there's difference between the last verse and this verse. Last verse says, like all pervading space, that was talking about the space. The infinite reality appears to be diverse on account of association with various types of equipment. Here is talking about the Atman. Only on account of the diverse equipments like caste, color, stage, etc., are superimposed upon Atman, just as different flavors, colors, etc., come upon water. See, when you go out to some, say, if you go out to some another, say you go to Ooty, oh, then you find somebody Kannada speaking fellow. Oh, you're speaking Kannada. Oh, fantastic. Where are you from? Oh, you're from Bangalore. Oh, very good. So these are all superimpositions. These are all what Bhagavan says is superimposition on the self. Nobody's seeing the self, but everybody is seeing the superimposition. So human beings can be classified under distinct categories depending upon their caste, color, position, etc. Many of us know this, but it's good to know this because that is the way the mind takes us. We ask you, which caste are you? Are you a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? Oh, you are upper caste, lower caste. All these are all in the mind. So Bhagavan says there are 4 castes: Brahmin, Kshatriya. The Brahmins are basically the thinker class. Kshatriya are the leaders who will fight. Vaishya are the trader, and Shudras are the labor class. This is a typical class that we are aware of. And then you have the colored races. White are the Europeans, yellow are the Mongolians, brown are the Indians, and the black are the Africans. Again, this is something, if you see somebody of certain colors, or you immediately position that he may be from Africa if he is dark. 4 stages of life. This is another thing that everybody says. Talks about brahmachari, which is the celibate. And then you have the grahasti, which is the householder. Vanaprastha, which is the recluse, and sannyas, which is the mendicant. So we have the other four cases where you should whichever stage based on your life you are in, you should pursue this. These divisions, Bhagavan says beautifully, are created by the differences in the quality and texture of human equipments, upadhis. Based on the upadhis, namely the gross, subtle, and causal bodies. So read this again. These divisions are created by the differences in the quality and texture of human equipments, upadhis, namely the gross, subtle, and causal bodies. The physical structure, the emotional structure, and intellectual caliber differ from person to person. Their different combinations produce the multiple categories and classifications among mankind. But Atman, this is a very important thing, but these are all superimpositions. But Atman, the self within, which functions through them all, is one and the same. It remains ever changeless and unaffected by the external divisions of caste, color, and position. So the I amness, we just spoke about the I amness. The I amness does not care whether you're a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, whether you're earning 1 lakh rupees. It's just like if you are the president of a company and you come home. What does your daughter or son say? Oh, hello, daddy. How are you? How was your day? Did you bring me chocolate? That's what the child will say. It's not going to say, hey, father, you are CEO. Oh, hello, CEO. No, those were all upadhis. Those were all labels on this body. And most human beings are behind the labels. They don't look at that I am this. They don't look at that. That's Satchidananda Atman, the reality behind all the unreal. So that's very important. So in the subject simile, Atman is compared to water. Water appears to acquire different flavors and colors when they are mixed with it. In fact, water itself is tasteless and colorless. It retains this property even in the mixture. Nevertheless, taste and color are attributes to water by virtue of its association with the extraneous substances. Similarly, art. So now this is a beautiful example. Now people say, "Oh, let us go and clean Ganga. Ganga has become very impure." No, Ganga is always pure, will always be pure, whether you throw a dead body into it or a gas cylinder into it, or flowers or milk, whatever you put into Ganga, it doesn't matter for Ganga. She is always pure, and she'll always be pure, whatever is done on top. So the upadhis don't bother the purity of Ganga. So this is a very important thing that all of us need to do manana on. So it says similarly, Atman is immaculate and ever seems and the same in all beings. But the gross, subtle, and causal bodies associating with it project their qualities upon the pure self. When you withdraw your identification with your material equipment and establish your identity with your pure self, you experience the homogeneous nature of the infinite self. The previous verse, just now that we did that, the previous verse describes how one indivisible reality appears pluralistic because of its association with the material equipments. This verse explains the result of such association. The properties and limitations of the equipments are superimposed upon the immutable and illimitable Atman because of its identification with them. So important thing here that what is being said is the nature of the gross, subtle, and causal bodies is described in the following 3 verses. So what's important here is what Bhagavan is trying to tell us is what is reality and that's what we have to be always. So when we have Viveka and Vairagya switch is always on, then we know this is Satya, this is Asatya. This is this is going to remain forever, this is going to vanish. We're going to vanish. It is just a passing show. We should be able to see that. The screen in the movie theater is permanent, but the movie is actually just shadows which are coming on light and just moving on. So we have to be very clear about this. If we understand this very clearly, because this is this verse and the previous verse are important for doing manana. You have to do manana on this. Once you do manana on this and it becomes part of your being, then you realize, oh, this is just a superimposition. Then it says, I amness. On that I amness, this is just a superimposition. And once you understand that with total clarity, then there won't be any doubt that if something is disturbing you, you'll say, oh, this is a trick of the mind, you'll inquire. And the beauty about the mind is, how is the mind be able to how are you able to realize the self with the mind? Because the mind is, you're inquiring into the nature of the mind. So once the mind becomes sattvic, it is, rajas and tamas are the ones which really take you out. But when it's sattva, in the sattva property of the mind, that's when it'll become, it won't be called a mind at all, but it has influences like the food you eat. If you eat rajasic food, then you have a tendency to go outwards. So important thing is we need to do is to be able to understand this with total clarity and be able to see these labels that are there on top and realize this is part of the mind, and you have to inquire. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. In the next part of the satsang, we have a sharing by Dr. Kalarani Rengasamy. She has been meditating on the verses of Devika Lotram Jnana Vichara Padalam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Aruna. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Arunachalamena agame nilaippavar agathai verarupparai Arunachalam. Ramana to all. With the abundance grace of Bhagwan, we are meditating on Devi Kalotra Jnana Vichara Padalam, very graciously given to us by Bhagavan in Tamil. And in the last satsang we saw that the true meaning of I is Anadi, as it is not bounded by any time limit. Moreover, it assigns the intellect to know about all the jnana and makes it realize. But it is not possible to use that same intellect to know itself. So it is Vijnana. Anadi Vijnanam Asanamam Puranam. It is always there in the Hridaya Guhara Madhya. Tanada Idaya Guhayir Ennalum Tangi, says Bhagavan in this song. and it is Ati Sukshama, Uruvam Ulagam Kalangam. As there is no form and no avastha, there is absolutely no impurity. There is nothing other than the self, and so there is no comparison for I or the self. Oppu Patri Indri. And in the next stanza, Bhagavan talks about the Sanadana Dharma. Sanadanamai Antaram Il Sad Brahmam Soham Ena. When something that appears in one time and which does not disappear in the other time is called Sanadana. That which always present at all the time is Sanadana. The dharmas prescribed in Vedas are Sanadana Dharma. And this suits all persons at all time. All have good respect for these Sanadana Dharmas and they practice also. Parameshwaran says, Hey Devi, I am very much present in everything. So, you do dhyana of that Ehatma Swarupa. Sadbrahmam Sogam Yena Ni Adikadi Yegam Pa. Moreover, without any difference between inside and outside, I am present everywhere, says Parameshwaran. When, say for example, an ice bar is immersed in the water, we find only the water both inside and outside. Likewise, Ishvara is present everywhere, both inside and outside our body. Antaramil, without any difference. The mumuksha, the yogi, who is in that Soham Bhava, who considered there is no difference between both himself and Parameshwaran, remains in that Bhava, that he is none other than me, he only realizes the self and attains that deathless state. Pannalum Yavan Bhavithu Nichalana Nirpan Amudat Tanmai Arthu. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. In this part of the satsang, we have been meditating on the verses of Ramanacentre written by Ganapati Muni and which has been compiled in this format by Bhagavan Ramana himself. In these verses, which are in the same meter or same tune of Ramana's Upadesa Saram, Ganapati Muni, the verse which has been chosen as the Pallavi by Srimati Sulochana Natarajan, says, O Ramana, compassion is not your quality because it is your true nature. Na karuna guna ramanastava vidampate ramana hridayate jasa ramana sahaja vaivate ramana. Na karuna guna ramana tava vidampate ramana hridayate jasa ramana sahaja vaivate prasaratatita shubhavilokitam ramanate sakrit फलतु मे कृतं प्रसरतादित शुभविलोकितं रमणते सकृत् फलतु मे कृतं रमणजन्मिनाम् अयि भवान् गुरु अभिदाशयस्तव महानुरु रमणजन्मिनाम् अयि भवान् गुरु अभिदाशयस्तव महानुरु ಕರುಣೆ ಗುಣವಲ್ಲ ರಮಣ ನಿನಗೆ ಒಡೆಯನೇ ರಮಣ ಹೃದಯದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ರಮಣ ಸಹಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ ರಮಣ ಕರುಣೆ ಗುಣವಲ್ಲ ರಮಣ ನಿನಗೆ ಒಡೆಯನೇ ರಮಣ ಹೃದಯದಿ ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ರಮಣ ಸಹಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ ರಮಣ ಹರಿಸು ನನ್ನೆಡೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕರುಣೆ ನೋಟವ ರಮಣನೇ ಸುಕೃತವು ಫಲವ ಗಳಿಸಲಿ ಹರಿಸು ನನ್ನೆಡೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕರುಣೆ ನೋಟವ ರಮಣನೇ ಸುಕೃತವು ಫಲವ ಗಳಿಸಲಿ ರಮಣನೇ ಗುರು ಸಕಲ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೂ ಅಭೇದ ಅನಂತವೂ ನಿನ್ನ ಹೃದಯವೂ ರಮಣನೇ ಗುರು ಸಕಲ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೂ ಅಭೇದ ಅನಂತವೂ ನಿನ್ನ ಹೃದಯವೂ. Ganapati Muni says, O Ramana, compassion is not your quality. Just like how a tree gives shade to every comer. Even if a comer is coming with an axe to cut down the tree, even that person who has come to cut down the tree is coming and sitting under the tree will not say, this person is going to cut me in any moment now. I am not going to give him any shade. I am not going to give him any oxygen, or neither I am going to give any fruit. This is not what the tree says, because tree can never ever devoid somebody from its compassion of giving shade and oxygen to every comer. Just like how even when a fruit is bitten, it only gives sweetness to us. Even when the sugar cane is crushed, it only gives the sweet sugarcane juice. Even when a flower, a fragrant flower is squeezed, it only leaves the fragrance in our hands. In the same way, Ramana only shows compassion. And this we see in every moment of Ramana's life, that his compassion was available to everyone, including the robbers. When the robbers came and they wanted to loot everything in the ashram, thinking that many people are coming to Ramanashramam, maybe Ramanashramam is very, very rich. So they thought, and they came to take away all the wealth of Ramanashramam. Ramana, he opened the door himself and told, Sir, please come in. Do not bang the door and break the door, and do not hurt anyone. We are sadhus and we do not have any money. But you can search for yourself. If you find anything useful, you can take whatever is available here. And he offered the lantern that they had to those robbers to search. And the robbers searched everywhere, and they could only find some few grains of rice and dal, and few coins and few silver items which was there for the puja of the Matrabhuteshwara temple. And they had to just take those, and they were so frustrated that they could not find anything wealthy. So they hit one on the thigh of Ramana. And Ramana, although he was in great pain, he with a smile told, if you are not satisfied, please hit the other leg. And the robbers were ashamed of their act, and they ran away. And one of the devotees told, I am going to run behind them and I am going to give them a nice lesson. I am going to take them to the police. So he thought, and he started running behind them, and Ramana stopped. And he told, they are misguided men. They do not know what is right and what is wrong. But we know what is right and what is wrong. And we should not move away from the dharma of a sadhu. So let us hold on to our dharma and let them take care of their dharma. So saying, Ramana was compassionate even to robbers. When the next day the police came and wanted a report from Ramana, Ramana simply brushed it away, saying that they are misguided men and they will learn to the due course of life. the Guru within will guide them, and they will learn what is right and what is wrong. That was the saying which Ramana told, and he avoided giving the report to the police too. Such was the compassion of Ramana, which is as natural as the shade of a tree, the sweetness of a fruit, and the fragrance of the flower. Ganapati Muni, in the first verse, he was telling that Ramana, your compassionate glance alone can make any work succeed. So please shower your compassionate glance on every work that we do, every sukrita, good work that we are doing, so that it finds fruition. And what is the best fruition that we can attain by doing any work? Ramana says the best service that you can do to the whole world is to know yourself. And Ramana, by his compassionate glance, he has made every work that we do into a sadhana. If Ganapati Muni came and told Bhagavan, I have done Kotyanu-koti japa, and Ramana, with his compassionate glance, makes that japa fructify in the best way possible. He says, find out from where this mantra nada arises from within and merge at its source. That is true tapas. By that you are knowing your true self, and by knowing that true self you are attaining the true fruition, which is the limitless eternal joy, the unalloyed joy, which is the greatest fusion, the fullest fruition that one can attain. And if somebody comes, and we are all drawn to Ramana through music and dance, so when we are singing and dancing, he reminds us every now and then that turn within and find out which is that power which is there within you, which makes you sing, which makes you move, which makes you understand, which makes you bring great ideas. Find out the source of all these and merge at its source. That is true tapas. That is the fruition of every work that you do. So Ramana is blessing us with his grace on every aspect. When we see Ramana's life, that he has blessed every aspect. When we think of talks, Ramana has blessed because he has spoken from his sweet voice. When we think of music, he describes the experience of the enlightenment as that the Shruti note was ever humming just like the self. The self is shining just like the Shruti note in music, and all the other thoughts are like the various swaras, the notes which come and go. So he has blessed the music and he has blessed the dance, because he says the self dances in every heart as I. And that's why the heart is called the heart center, because the self shines, the Arunachala shines there as I, Spurana, the dance of Nataraja. And to bless this, he was born on this special day of Ardra Darshana, where the dancing Lord Nataraja is celebrated. And he got enlightened at Madurai, the South Tower. When you see the South Tower, you see Dakshinamurti with a veena in his hand, blessing the music, the Ramananjali music that we have. And we hear of how devotees during the Virupaksha cave days, Vasudeva Shastri and Palini Swami and others who were there, Manavasi Ramaswamy Iyer, they were all clapping their hands and singing the songs written by Satyamangalam Venkatramayar, the Kummi song, and they used to go around Ramana singing these songs. And Ramana has blessed these crazy chaps and blessed them with that craziness of Ramana, of holding on to the self who is Ramana. So this is the way that Ramana is blessing all the activities, and his compassionate glance is always there, blessing us to find the best fruition, the fruition of getting back to our own true nature, which is bliss. And this secret that he is given to us he is giving it to all the creatures, Sakala Jeevigaligu. Ramana Janmina Ai Bhavan Guru. He is the Guru for everybody who is born. The truth that which is available, he says, Atmavu Ati Durbhalanigu Satyavadado. It is available to everyone. He has come to declare this, that Atma, the Self, is available to everyone and to bless us. Such is his heart. His heart is so Vishala. It does not see any differences. And it is so infinite. It is Ananta. Such is your compassion. Such is your heart, O Ramana, which includes everything. And your grace and your Upadesha is available to the whole world, to such a master. We are all blessed that he has entered our lives and blessing our sadhana. So we offer our salutations to Ramana, says Ganapati Muni in these verses of Ramana Chatvarimshat. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We move on to the next part of the satsang, where we have the chanting of a few verses from Ramana's Arunachala Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Mena Ahame Ninai Pavarahate Verarupai, Arunachala. அழகு சுந்தரம் போல் அகமும் நீயுமுற்று அபிநமாயிருப்போம் அருணாச்சலாம் அகம்பூகும் தீர்த்துன் அககு அஷிரையாய் அமர்வித்ததென் கொல் அருணாச்சலாம் ஆருக்காவென்னை ஆண்டனை அகற்றிடில் அகிலம் பழித்திடும் அருணாச்சலாம் இப்பழி தப்புன ஏனினை தாயினி யார் விடுவார் அருணாச்சலாம் ஈன்றிடும் அன்னையில் பெரிதருள் புரிவோய் இதுவோ உனதருள் அருணாச்சலாம் உனையே மாற்றி ஓடாதுள்ளத்தின் மேல் உறுதியாயிருப்பாய் அருணாச்சலாம் ஊர் சுற்றுடம் விடாதுன்னை கண்டடங்கிட உன்னழகை காட்டருணாச்சலாம் என்னை அழித்திப்போதென்னை கலவாவிடில் இதுவோ ஆண்மை அருணாச்சலா ஏன் இந்த உறக்கம் என்னை பிறர் இழுக்க இது உனக்கழகோ அருணாச்சலா ஐம்புல கள்வர் அகத்தினில் புகும்போது அகத்தில் நீ இல்லையோ அருணாச்சலா ஒருவனாம் உன்னை ஒளித்தவர் வருவார் உன் சோதே இது அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி. நமோ ரமண.
Namo Ramana. We conclude today's satsang with the Ashtottara puja, which will happen at the altar of Sri Dileep Simha, and the chanting of the Ashtottaram will be by Vaibhavji and Prarthana, followed by Uma and Ashwini. and the Arati song will be chanted by Ujwal Jagadeesh.
नमो रमण. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि. ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः. ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः. ॐ गुरवे नमः. ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः. ॐ महौजसे नमः. ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः. ॐ जगद्हितावताराय नमः. ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः. ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः. ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः. ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः. ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः. ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः. ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः. ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः. ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः. ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः. ॐ तीव्राय नमः. ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः. ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः. ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः. ॐ तपोमयाय नमः. ॐ उदासीनाय नमः. ॐ महायोगिने नमः. ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः. ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः. ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः. ॐ सुसन्द्रशे नमः. ॐ सवित्रे नमः. ॐ स्थिराय नमः. ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः. ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः. ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः. ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासेनाय नमः. ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः. ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः. ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः. ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः. ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः. ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः. ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः. ॐ पूर्णाय नमः. ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः. ॐ गम्भीराय नमः. ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः. ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः. ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः. ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः. ॐ धीराय नमः. ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः. ॐ स्वराजे नमः. ॐ महर्षये नमः. ॐ भगवते नमः. ॐ ईड्याय नमः.
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः. ॐ विमलाय नमः. ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः. ॐ आप्ताय नमः. ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः. ॐ समदृशे नमः. ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः. ॐ सत्याय नमः. ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः. ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः. ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः. ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः. ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः. ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः. ॐ श्री शोणाचलरुद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्छिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात्पन्दमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीरमणभगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीव हित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठसमदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ महर्षि बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय
Namo Ramana Dileepa, thank you.